Hello, everybody. I'm giving it some time before I start. Thank you for being willing to join today and just talk, listen. Um, I'll just say that it's been, a very, very rough week. And, I haven't really had the desire most of the time to talk. It's just been difficult. It's been hard to sleep. My mind is constantly racing. So um, I've been doing a lot of not even observing, that sounds too passive, but just watching things unfold, reading things. And I needed to do something different today just to get a lot of the stuff that's trapped out. So that's kind of the goal. I don't know if you guys are feeling similarly, but I just think that this platform, for what it's worth, is just something that will allow, us as a community to talk about things. And this impacts everybody, I'm sure, in different ways. But the upcoming episode for Wednesday and trying to figure out how to get in the mind space to edit and to just talk about things that I know are important for us, right? But just not the move right now. And so that's kind of why I just wanted to open up the floor. I'm doing my best with two screens to kind of document it and just open up the dialogue. But I encourage people, even though I'm technically challenged or technologically challenged, to feel free to join in to the conversation. Again, I'll try to follow the comments because that's what it's really all about, not me running my mouth. But I just wanted to open it up. Hi, Claire. Sending so much love. I'm with you. I appreciate it. I have to say that in the past couple of days, I've heard from friends that I think, everybody's at a loss, right, for what to say, how to connect, with people that you care about, people that you respect, and doing it in a way that's mindful that people are just not okay right now. And I think, I've appreciated hearing from people, and I think it's really something that this has like lasting impacts. Lives are changing daily, and the way that everybody's coping is different. And I'll just start with kind of like what's going on in my house. You guys probably know I have two kids. I have a 15-year-old son, a 13-year-old daughter, and this has just been something that has really been haunting me, really ever since Trayvon Martin. Um, my my son, when he was very little, loved to wear hoodies, and like he had a collection of hoodies, probably like some people have a shoe closet. And we were watching Good Morning America just like any other day. And when the news hit about what happened, I was stuck as a mom because I wasn't prepared to try to field these questions. I mean, the images, the video, the audio, like there was just so much flying at us all at one time. I'll never forget that day. And my son asking me, am I going to die because I wear a hoodie? Because I like to wear hoodies. And I will just never forget how heavy it felt for me to try to explain to him at his younger age at the time, just that not to be afraid. I don't want my kids growing up to be afraid, but just that was what he absorbed from all of that. And I've just been stuck in that space as a parent to a young Black teen of having that worry. And I know a lot of my parent friends who don't carry that weight, and I was just going to share something because I had like my own, like another round of meltdown on my son's 13th birthday, because, when Trayvon Martin happened, he was younger, he was a kid. And not to say that kids haven't been murdered by police, but I was just in a different space. And on his 13th birthday, I just remember having like a complete like meltdown, and I ended up posting about it on Facebook. And I'm just going to read it just to kind of it's really just a way of opening up, right? For us to be like oriented in like where all these emotions come from and why they're so difficult to process. But I said it's official. I now have a teenager. This was a very emotional morning for me with so many complex emotions from sheer happiness of sending Quentin off to school on his 13th birthday and seeing his beautiful smile without a care in the world to an overwhelming sense of helplessness because of all the emotional trauma that I know I've been carrying with me each and every time I hear of another life of a young Black man being so violently and hatefully taken from this world. Everyone knows my children's birthdays are my happiest days every year, and I couldn't explain why this morning, after dropping him off, I could not stop crying for nearly an hour. I just could not stop, and it needed to come out. Tears of joy because I'm so thankful to be his mother, his nurturer, and caregiver. Gratitude that he is such a wonderful, human being with so much love in his heart. Fear that as he grows taller and stronger, he could be perceived as a threat by a racist coward with a gun. Anger that the injustices continue over and over and over again. Frustration that so many mothers do not have this experience of parenthood. And exasperation over the fact that my conversations with my son include how to remain calm if you're ever wrongfully arrested as a matter of life and death, knowing that even that is not enough to protect him. I think this morning I had a moment of reflection that every year that I'm able to celebrate my son's birthday in today's racial climate is going to have an immeasurable impact on me as a mother. Today, my heart truly came undone for all the parents who can no longer wish their sons happy birthday. Um, I just said, Quentin, I love you more than words can ever express. And I just lead with that because, like, that's where my brain goes first. And it's, as a parent, as a mother, it's just not being able to protect your kids. And, um, you guys know I'm pretty outspoken. Um, my daughter's being raised the same way. And my son, I'm really trying to raise my kids to not be afraid of the things that they see. But it's hard when you're confronted time and time again that what happens um, to you just based on the color of your skin, talking to Simone and just realizing that I could have been a Sandra Bland, knowing that that's the kind of like paralysis, right, that you have as a parent because you're trying to instill these things in your kids, and then you're knowing that they're confronted over and over again with examples that won't save them, that won't stop, the injustice. And this isn't really just all about a parenting perspective. I'm just sharing it because that's kind of what I'm processing in my own household. Um, my kids and I have been watching. Quentin hasn't really wanted to be engrossed in that, and I can't blame him, right? Who wants to confront ways that you could be murdered over and over again? Scenes of that, it instills a fear, and I don't. It's really difficult in my house right now. I wanted to talk more to him about it, and I just have to give it some space. But again, with this platform, I just know that it's meant for us to talk and it's meant for us to connect. And I just felt like I couldn't really um, leave this subject untouched. I'm a very private person, and me posting on social media and yelling at people about why they're not posting, like that's just not my vibe. I think there's so many layers to this conversation. There's so many aspects to like the outrage, and it hit me because I'm kind of like, people are really just like hella pissed at the silence from other people, from other races that aren't speaking out against it. And I was just kind of like, why is there so much invested in that? And then I kind of like had it hit home that for me personally, in situations like this, you look to people that you respect. Um, you look at certain figures in society, whether they be celebrities or political figures, and I go to their social media. I'm curious what they have to say. Um, how they feel, if they feel similarly to me. Are they able to put it in a word that I can't? Like all those things come to mind. And so I kind of get why it makes a difference if people who are looking at figures in their life, um, for anything, any statement, any strong stance, that it might make an impact on somebody. It might inspire somebody. And, again, this is the Pro Cheerleading podcast, right? We talk about things in our world, but I just wanted to open it up to um, for us to share what we're going through. I didn't go to a protest in Seattle. I don't know if others have participated in protests in their cities. I saw enough from Minneapolis to understand that. Um, Tara, I love you too. I'm doing a terrible job keeping up with the comments. I'm sorry. I appreciate you popping in. I'll try to save this. I know I'm probably somewhat rambling, but I'm hoping that everybody will interrupt me by submitting a question or just doing whatever people do to ask to join the live to talk. But basically, I just realized that this is just a way for us to. There's a request, so I'm going to try to operate my phone to make it work. It's Quentin, you guys, from the Rams. Hopefully I do this right. Quentin, hi.
How's it going?
Heavy. I appreciate you joining just because this is hard.
I had to. I felt like it's very hard to be on social media right now. It's hard to try to be normal, and I don't know if that makes any kind of sense.
Absolutely.
Just like I normally post my songs of the days every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I haven't been able to do it, but it feels weird not addressing what's going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's hard.
It's hard. It's so hard. No, and I appreciate you just joining because, again, I mean, I hadn't even I had not been on Facebook. I purposely blocked out certain things. I had my way of monitoring what was going on. And then the more that I saw, and I think that's what I was speaking to about, like actually being physically present for the protests and understanding that, that there was just a very, very clear, just from the way that I chose to monitor was like Twitter or ways where it was like personal accounts from people who were there, and seeing that it's just a clear group of people that are showing up at these protests and kind of hijacking it with a different type of with literally looting as the agenda, changed my perspective about the safety, obviously, of being there. And I think so many accounts of that, and I don't know what you're seeing in your city, but I'm going to actually just stop talking because I'm so happy to see your face.
I love the conversation. No, I've had a lot of friends. I thought about going down to LA yesterday, but I couldn't get in the car. I was scared. I mean, I'm scared. This is a scary time. And I'm fearful for what's to come because I don't think this will end anytime soon. I don't think this will be a 2-day ride and it's over.
I saw your tweet, I think, the other day too, saying something like that. Like, I think this is just the beginning or something else to that effect. I did see that.
And it's coming from all angles. It's not just the Black people fighting. It's all of us are fighting for this inequality, and everybody's seeing it in this situation. It's so, I don't want to say black and white, because this is not a race thing, but it's so black and white. Like, it's either right or wrong. And people talking about how the looting and everything are defeating the message. And it's like, well, how else do you want to be heard? Like, we tried the peaceful way. And people thought Kaepernick was racist because you know what I mean? And it's like, so when you try these different methods of protest peacefully, you know what I mean? And you're constantly being shut down. What else do you want to do? You're going to hear me regardless.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you hear me. So at this point, I'm going to make you see me. I'm going to make you hear me, and that's just what it is.
Yeah.
So I don't condone the violence. I mean, violence means I'm not a violent person, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
the attention that we want to get the attention from. So
And yeah, no, I could not agree more. And I just think, because it's just been like a snowball effect, right? This is not just in the last couple of weeks, between Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, like even beyond that, right? I don't know how far we want to go back, but it's just been such a repetitive what's the new hashtag of who's been murdered. It's just not it's the trauma repeating itself over and over again. And if you think back to even like years ago, instances of people being murdered by cops, and me being a lawyer, I stayed away from criminal law for a reason, but it's just like, a year from now, whenever the adjudication process is over with, right? The police officers are being eventually arrested, eventually charged, but they don't get sentenced. And that's another layer of the rage that's building too, is everybody's going through expecting justice to be served at some point, and it just has not been. So it's a lot that's what everybody's carrying around. But I've just seen, in Seattle with the protests that were organized, like knowing who the protest organizers are, knowing what they're telling people to come prepared with in terms of kits for tear gas and just, ways to kind of like prepare for a peaceful protest even. I just know what I saw. And it's like two different groups that are present for these protests that turn into riots. It's like there's no room for the message to be lost. There are people who are protesting that are peaceful. I mean, I've seen too many firsthand accounts where I just refuse to have anybody mix the two issues, right? Because like people are showing video of the chants, the climate, it's peaceful. And then what they saw in terms of the antagonizing them, how police officers would change into plain clothes and just agitate the crowd, how they're telling them to disperse, but they're boxing them in, like all these things that, again, I understand like not feeling safe to go down there. It turned into something completely different than I think what people were.
More than just a protest at this point.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but I'm a little disheartened from the lack of support I've seen through just being a pro cheerleader. I've seen so many friends posting selfies at the beach because it's how can you post a selfie at the beach right now when shit is going on? Like how are you okay with doing it? Like
yeah, that's the struggle, right? Because that's why I've been off, and it was like it doesn't feel right to your gut to like post and talk about things like it's nothing. And I mean, to your point, like we don't always feel that freedom to speak up about things that might be affecting us in our lives. I mean, there was the Shut Up and Dance episode or different things where Brittany and I know in our first season tried to talk about that dynamic, but you either don't feel safe to say certain things or to speak out, or you just feel like this is not the place for it or space for it, but we're all human beings and we shouldn't feel that restriction in speaking out. And that's
maybe my mindset's a little jaded, but we post what's important to us.
Yeah, good point. Period. Yeah.
I mean, if I have a business with Herbalife or Arbonne, I'm going to continue to post my daily things about, make sure you join that business. You know what I mean? You post what's important to you, and that's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And people saying, well, it's not the right, my followers don't it's not my aesthetic. That's bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm surprised I haven't burst one out yet, so don't worry.
And I had talking to Catherine the other day. She's so real, like Captain Madigan. I was just like, I just don't understand how, even with that, I mean, I'm not expecting any NFL team or a coach or higher up to make a public post. You know what I mean? The NFL has gone through its fair share of craziness.
Mm-hmm.
What I am expecting is an email saying, "Hey, we see you guys. Or I hope you guys are being safe."
Yeah,
something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something, even in that little bit, shows so much. And I think I was talking to Deb from the Panthers because I saw her post, and I was like, I got to reach out to her. I got to talk to you.
Yeah.
And I was like, the fact that it's not just me feeling this way; it's NFL wide, and it's more than just them. It's us as Black people wide. Like it's and Americans. It's an American thing, and it's more than just the color of my skin. Like right is right and wrong is wrong, and everything about the situation and how it's been dealt with has been wrong. And people keep saying, well, I honestly think this is just the final straw that broke the camel's back. And
Yeah.
like just speaking honestly, and it's nuts.
It is nuts. And I'm glad you said that, because of course, I've seen the commissioner's statement from the NFL, which frankly just was a big fat eye roll for me. Didn't really mention police violence directly. It was just so NFL to me. I mean, getting back to like Kaepernick and how a peaceful protest was villainized, and then it's just landed. It's just so late for that, but seeing like NBA teams and different, at least some effort to an acknowledgement or putting out a statement. And I've seen like the Blazers put out this, say it again.
Even Nike and their little.
Yeah. I don't do it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Like something little to show that you see this and you're standing up for it.
Exactly.
It's nuts.
It goes, I won't say far, but it does something to actually have some statement or acknowledgement of how this impacts people, and I'm here debating tomorrow when I meet with my boss. I mean, this is just how we're going to have to deal with it in our daily lives, right? Last week, I was just like kind of just not freaking productive. I wasn't sleeping. I was doing what I could, but things just aren't really that important right now. And, the tone of like something that you want it done. And tomorrow morning, we're just going to have a conversation. Like I'm not okay, just for the record. I'm doing the best I can. And we don't have to have like a debate or conversation around it, but you just need to understand that this has impacts. And if I need to take PTO, just let me know if there's not an understanding as to like what I might be experiencing and going through. But I would say that teams should feel that team leaders, directors, I think it's fair to say that we are looking to you for some sort of acknowledgement of how this touches your team. Period. I just think that that's a realistic and humane expectation, because we're all impacted, and not to communicate with us and say, please refrain from posting on social media. You know what I mean? Like it gets, when I was on the team, that's what the messaging essentially was, at least when, with Kaepernick kneeling, like we're not making any statement with the anthem. And I just remember what that felt like. It didn't sit well with me. And I just hope that the dancers that are currently on teams are getting some kind of communication or support from the leadership. Even if it's like restating what the dang team posts out, right? Like something.
Or we're posting a Nike ad.
Yeah.
There's so many subtle ways into getting your point across,
right,
and showing your support. And especially all of us being, and my mom even said, my mom's not on social media like that. Like she barely posts anything. So when you go on people's posts on like people's profiles and stuff that don't post a lot, that's totally fine if you're not posting, because you don't do this all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you're constantly shooting out content every other hour and nothing in the past week has said anything about what's going on.
Yeah. I don't know why it took so long for that light bulb to go on for me, of like why people were like so mad and looking at different celebrities, because I'm just kind of like, I mean, we get why they probably wouldn't think it's on brand to like mess up their cute little page and social media to kind of like get messy with the politics. But at the end of the day, you have people looking at you and having respect for you for whatever it is that you bring to the table. And it's such a small, it requires nothing. And like you said, you post what you care about. And if this is something that actually touches you, if not now, when? Like really, it's just something that touches. And I know I've been doing a terrible job. I'm not used to this crap, but like getting people part of with the comments to see what people were saying, because I, especially if they have questions for you, Quentin. So if you also can look, I mean, I don't know what I'm doing, but just want to make sure, or you could just like repost it again, people, if you were something that you wanted to say to Quentin while he's here. and just, just share because I can go. Um, oh, wow. Someone said, I just can't wrap my head around being expected to stand by people on the field that don't support me as
That's
teammates.
Steph from the Panthers. Yeah. Yes.
Whoa, I didn't actually. Okay, that's what you were talking about. Her state. Oh,
Yes. And it's like everybody wants to be for the culture and get ratchet to my type and everything on the sideline. You can't post. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about.
And that was what I was talking about, layers, because there's that conversation. Embracing
Everybody
Black
wants
culture on every other level except when it counts, when we're under attack. Can we open the floor to that? Because obviously it's not about trying to be divisive or anything like that. But, what we put out there about what being a sisterhood or brotherhood or just being this NFL cheerleader, part of a, you're part of a team. It doesn't matter, right? You're part of a team. And there's these bonds that form. It's all peaches and roses. I mean, you work hard together, you build these relationships. And when something like this happens, going silent or just not showing support really, really is eye-opening as a teammate. So you took on just having a dialogue, not took on, but like you spoke to your captain about the way that you were feeling. Is that something that, do you want to expand on that, or don't let me be all up in the business? But
Oh no, it's just I started with a tweet. I get tweet heavy sometimes.
Yeah.
It gets me in trouble. So she just asked. I just made a statement that like a lot of my influencer brand teammates have been very silent. I see you. And she thought I was referring to
her
my
specifically.
episode to Tell the Truth, and I was like, no, I'm referring to.
Oh, you being on the TV show.
Yeah.
It's like, no, not that.
I don't care if they support me or not. Like this, but I'm talking about what's happening on this past week and what's been down, honestly, for the past few years. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And not even a few years. What's been happening in America? And I kind of sent her this novel, and she was like, "Oh," I was like, "Yeah." I wasn't talking about a damn TV show.
Right.
So then she chimed in and agreed, and she said she's doing her part. I mean, it's as much as she can. You know what I mean? She's trying to have those conversations. She's donated. She's signed petitions and stuff. I mean, it's what you can do ish.
Right.
I was just happy that I was able to have that conversation with somebody in leadership position on my team, and I'm like, you know what? She gets it.
Yeah.
And, there's some long comments down here.
I know. Shoot. Feel free to read too, because Lord knows I'm slow.
Not having this conversation with teammates during this time really helps. It helps eliminate tension amongst the team. And she said, I meant having. So having this conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, and I get that we're not. Ooh, okay, hold on. I called them out, but now I'm feeling overwhelmed by them asking me what to do, but at the same time angry at the people who didn't reach out. There's a lot to. So here's where, again, where I was kind of like, I had that epiphany kind of late. Like, why do we look to people to care? Like, how much effort are we willing to expend to kind of get people to care about our humanity, our Blackness, what's going on with this? Because sometimes for me, I'll just, like, if you don't effing get it, like, I just really cannot, give you any energy. I just don't have it. I don't, like, we all know how to research and hit the Google or ask Siri, whatever, in terms of educating yourself about what's going on. If you really feel like, I don't really know what I can do to get involved. There's so many damn articles out there. There's like literature that even people of color put together, like, to pass this on to your white friends if they ask you, what can I do? Like, there's a way to kind of answer that question for yourself, because I think this really is kind of like it's part of like a personal journey, but it's also what work you're willing to do internally to kind of help you connect with people that you care about, right? And so that would require trying to become informed without, hitting up your people of color friends and doing it that way, but taking some initiative on your own to understand what might be going on, to broaden your viewpoint and perspective. And I would say, just to the comment about like feeling really hurt or upset by people who hadn't reached out, that's tough, because I'm thinking in my mind, would I really, maybe from leadership, but in terms of like that expectation from my friend circle or like even my best friend circle, like people who know me, uh, maybe I just have weird low expectations of that from people with stuff like this, especially because are struggling with what to say. Even typing what to say is going to seem hella inadequate. Uh, you don't want to just brag about like, hey, I signed a petition and I donated. Just wanted to let you know because you're doing it to like make yourself feel better versus really like, showing empathy. So I would say, I would say to that person, I'm sorry, I think it was I don't want to say Devin, um, that maybe it's not, I don't want to say it's not worth the energy because I don't want to say that. Like, just let that process through, I would say. You know what I mean? Because, like, I think that's just like an expectation that's just going to be broken and not met so much that internalizing that pain from that is going to like not be good for your own well-being. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how would you respond to that, Quentin? Just like, do you think there's a way to not let that lack of empathy or lack of effort to connect with you on it? I mean, I know it hurts, and like you said, looking at it from your coaches or your squad leaders, but how much should we really let that in?
It sucks because I've been reading this book called The Four Agreements, and one of the agreements is not take things personal.
Yeah.
I've been working on it. But it's so hard. I don't know if it's just the climate, but it's so hard not to take things personal. At this time.
Yeah.
It feels like everything is either this or that. There is no middle. There is no gray area. It's like either you are for this or you're against this.
Right.
And I'm trying to see both sides, but it's very hard. There is, I can't.
It can't. And that's fair. That is fair.
So even, I know people just text me hearts, you know what I mean? Thank you. I get it. You don't need to send this elaborate story of, you know what I mean? If you want to, go right ahead. But even the post I posted with my like Dream Like Martin shirt, I've had people just reposting that or like, this is what I'm talking about, or where can I buy this shirt? Things like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That shows support. So it's like, I guess I'm lucky enough to have people. I haven't had that question like, what can I do to help? Because I would just say I don't know. Like, I'm kind of a self-sufficient person. I rely on myself a lot. So it's like, if I know the answer to something, I'm going to try to figure it out. Yeah. Figure it out. Like, whether that's, again, sending a friend a heart, whether that's checking in on people, whether that's posting on your story or posting your post on Instagram. I know that's bold for people, but you don't want to mess up your aesthetic,
Right. Story versus the Instagram post issue. Yeah.
But doing something is better than doing nothing. And even if you do it in silence, but it sucks that at the same time, because I do agree, and this is where I kind of contradict myself. Like, I have friends who aren't big posters on Instagram or on social media who are fighting the cause. They're doing their part. They're signing the petitions. They're out writing stuff, just not posting anything about it.
Right.
Not writing, protesting. But at the same time, it's like in this age of social media, I feel like if you're not showing because again, you were showing that smoothie you were making this morning. You know what I mean? You were showing everything else.
Right.
So it's like you almost it's like it's a blessing and a curse. Like I feel like you almost have to, because when everything is so, especially we're still in quarantine, you know what I mean? Like people are still attached to this phone.
Exactly.
So if you're not, and if we're sitting there all feeling this weird tension, and then I'm seeing you at the beach not posting anything, okay, now I'm feeling like, oh my God, does she even know what's going on? Like, how does she feel? And then my brain starts, you know what I mean? Again, we've been trapped in a house for 3 months.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're all on some kind of crazy right now. So I don't know.
It's hard. It's so hard. And like, I don't expect you, to have like, we're not going to get any like definitive hard line. But I will say, for people who are struggling with what's an appropriate way of reaching out to people that you respect or care about, I think you've given plenty of examples of just what feels natural to you to just express, not put what you're feeling onto that person because we got enough stuff going on, but just a way of trying to connect to say, I see you, I hear you, I care about you. And I mean, I don't know if you go here sometimes, but like for me, people who know me or know my kids and know how I'm raising them, like I just wish that it didn't have to be like this big proof case as to why people should feel empathy, like, uh, my son might make mistakes. He's not going to be perfect, right? Or of course, I think he's perfect, but whatever. But there's going to be things like his name is Quentin. I mean, see, so like, there we go. But you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I feel like people feel like you have to have some personal connection, or I know some. That doesn't have to be the only way that you're impacted enough to have empathy or to express concern, right? You don't have to know my kids or care. I just wish it wasn't that, you know what I mean? Because I feel like it's almost like this endorsement of why it's okay to care. And it's like, it should just be because it's a human rights issue.
Right? And like, I feel like, especially with the kids I teach a very, one community, it feels like. And I even just had that conversation like you guys would if it was me.
Yeah.
And I will leave it at that. They could all comment on my last post and like text like, hey, Mr. Q, we love you, or whatever. And I'm like, you guys, I want you to not just have this conversation with me, but talk to your friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because everybody knows who I am. They know I'm this big, fun personality. Like, don't want her to fly.
Right.
What happens if that was me on your TV screen, getting showed every hour, like minute on the hour?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how would you feel? Like, what would you be doing right now? That's what you should be doing, right? Like, that's what you should be doing. It's not just because it wasn't me, like, because it could be. And then I've had that talk, and I'm even working on a concept video, like, what if I was the next hashtag? You know what I mean? Like, because, like, I walked down and I live in a very nice neighborhood. I walked down the street in 6th grade, got called a nigger. Walked down the street in high school, got called, like, you know what I mean? In different stages of my blackness in my life. You know what I mean? Even a couple weeks ago, walking my dog down the street, I've gotten called a nigger. So it's like, well, what is
like,
why?
What is this?
And if you don't understand that, and the fact that I have to fear going to the grocery store to get some damn almond milk, like, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, me walking, especially
with masks on now. Let's be real. Like, how much more intimidating are people going to look wearing a goddamn mask thanks to the Rona? That's very, very, like, all I think about with the mask. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, and there's just other layers of things. Like, they said, you should wear a bandana. Well, I can't wear a bandana because I'm considered a gangbang. So I've got to make sure that my masks are blinged out, bright colors. You know what I mean? I put my name on it, like Mr. Q, so that way it's not just you know what I mean? Sometimes I do wear my hat, sometimes I do have the hood on. I look hella suspicious to everybody else. So I've always be aware of what I'm wearing and how I dress, because it's like I want to make sure that I'm presenting my best self. But it's like, I shouldn't have to feel like that. Everybody else can do it.
Right. And that's the reality that I think, I'm just glad we're fleshing this out, right? Because I think, again, with all those layers, you guys don't have, like, not you guys, but people don't have to do all of that. People don't have to go to that extent of being approachable and to make people feel at ease and calm. And in the absence of that, you have people placing phone calls to 911 while you're bird watching, or, like, things like that's what we're up against if we don't choose. And it's hard because, as a mom, I don't want to have to have these conversations with my son of how to blend in, to not be perceived a certain way. It's the reality of it, though, but I haven't been able to, like, because I'm such a little bit of I won't even say like rebel, but like, it's hard for me to accept that I got to have that conversation with my child. Like, I'm not ready for it yet. I think we've had conversations, but it's just like, I haven't, in my protective mama bear mode, been like, you cannot go out looking like that. Like, you gotta, it's hard to balance, but that's the reality.
You have to, especially now. Like,
yeah.
David, my best friend, her little brother, is, I think, 11.
Mm-hmm.
And you can already tell mom and dad have already had multiple talks.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's so smart and so educated, but he knows what's going on. And I don't know how, maybe I can ask like how they brought it up, but maybe they were just really honest with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've had that talk so many, I think, because at least 4 times with my mom and dad. I mean, we don't talk about the issues.
Right.
Right. They're kind of old school, but like, I've had that talk. Like, this is what if you were to get pulled over, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Nothing. You know what I mean? All windows rolled down. You know what I mean? Like why?
Yeah.
I mean, I can ask some of my other friends, like, have you had that talk with your parents?
And it's just
99% sure most of them will say no.
Yeah.
So it's just a a harsh reality. And if you understand, why are you right? We just, all these things that we're unpacking that you still haven't had to go through.
Right, right. This is it.
Like,
no, this is absolutely it. And I mean, and I think I'm just glad that there's a release for talking about it, because otherwise you're trapped in this sense of like despair and it's all bad news bears and you can't really work through, okay, so now what? Or like, I talked to my nephew who just recently joined the police force in Tacoma, south of Seattle here. Want to make sure that I didn't know if he was working these protests or not. And, I asked him, because I don't know if you've seen it, where there's like a public service announcement. If you see me being my life endangered by the cops, don't pull out your cell phone, help me, like help save my life. I would do that for you, or something like that. And I was just really, this was before kind of everything like really, really blew up with, the way that the police were responding to the protests. But it was really like trying to ask Masai, like, what really can we do in a situation like that? I mean, and of course, this is really not even unique, but there's 4 officers involved, not just 2. Or how do you intervene in a situation that you might see on the street like that in broad daylight, other than pulling out your phone? And I felt bad even putting that pressure on my nephew to answer that question for me, but it was really just like, because I would be feeling compelled to some act. And I think, from what I was listening to people who were in that position of peacefully protesting and watching police use batons against the person next to them, like there's an innate something in you that makes you want to fight back or do something. And unfortunately, I didn't get an answer from him that there's actually not much safely that you can do in that situation. This is kind of like why it's there's so many layers to this, because these are the people that are supposed to be protecting and serving. Like, I think everybody has a clear sense, if you see somebody in danger, you could put yourself at risk if it's like 2 civilians going at it or doing, a fight. Some people try to break them up, some people don't. But if you're looking at cops do something that is wrong, there's not a safe way for you to intervene, because this is like, they're supposed to be officers of the law, upholding the law, and they're breaking the law. So it's just a really, really unfortunate conclusion to draw, that there's, other than fighting in the aftermath of it, or trying to be proactive in terms of figuring out within your own locale, like what is the level of community involvement in terms of reviewing police complaints. Like, there's things that hopefully will offset like what you can't do in that specific situation. But I think that's part of the digging and research, like you mentioned, just being self-sufficient to figure out what you can do in your own community to kind of try to feel like you are doing something. Because unfortunately, intervening with something like that happening is not an option. Like, it's just not. That was really fucking depressing. But I was trying to, everybody I think is looking for the, like, what do we do with all this? And I just think getting it out is part of it. Finding out more granularly, like, how you can make a difference or get involved. And it's not like you're starting alone. There are groups, there are organizations that I'm sure would love volunteers. It's not like you're just going out alone to start this fight. There are people who've organized and have a group that are working towards a common purpose, and maybe you can just join it. Help me, Quentin, look for comments that we maybe didn't address.
Amber Desiree said, I just told my teammates before you re-audition, before you put that uniform back on, know that if you can't stand with us off the court, then you don't belong on the court. Ooh.
Whoa. Ooh. Okay, so we're just really, yeah. Let me read that again. These are raw feelings, you guys. I'm not judging one way or the other.
It's the same for us as actors. We are watching as producers, directors, agencies, etc., who have worked with silent. It is.
Yeah. So Quentin, let me ask you, because I know I've been looking at like, dancers, choreographers, different, people that are more probably well known in like the professional dance world, like in New York, LA, kind of having that conversation around, um, like what you mentioned earlier, like there's a lot in our space of, you know, taking on, not even taking on, but just like Black culture is all up in pro cheer. Let's just be real, pro dance. Um, there's issues, I think, of representation on teams to some extent. Well, not to some extent, probably to a large extent, but also just like in this environment right now, just this, what would really make it more unified? Because like that was definitely a very pointed statement. Like, should there be that level of unity based on us being part of a team together? Because I mean, in my mind, I don't know if I'm like, just like any other workplace, I'd love for it to be that way. Kumbaya land, like everybody would just be united on all fronts. We're all like super enthusiastic about this particular team. Like we bleed whatever those team colors are. We will like practice till we're sore together. We'll like go through all of the things, right? On a human, like on a connection where I would take a bullet for you, vice versa. Like, you care about me in that kind of a way. Like I don't know that again, and that's like maybe just my way of looking at it, that perspective, or expecting that from people that are part of my team. Where
like there's like having that low expectation is almost like a safety net. You know what I mean? Like, have done wrong and have let us down, and not just us as Black, like just teammates have let teammates down. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Humans have let humans down. So you have that expectation, like, well, I'm not going to expect too much from you because I want to make sure that I'm safe and I don't get my feelings hurt. So I totally understand that. And it's hard because I don't know what I would want to see, but I want to see something. Almost like, I think it would feel great to know that our teams in the NFL or any sports organization right now would have our backs.
Yeah.
If you look at the majority of players are what? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
If we're speaking honestly. So it's like everybody wants to profit, but nobody wants to speak up.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel, and especially in the dance community, like I've gone so many places where the N-word has been thrown around by so many people who weren't Black, but they felt, it was
part of the whole. That's just what we listen.
Where's that voice now?
Yeah. Or just like, I mean, I debated whether even to mention this. And again, I apologize well, no, I don't apologize. Like, it's all over the place and that's just the way it is. But yeah, no, I was invited to someone's house. There were some teammates there and just girls and just talking. It was a birthday celebration and it went down the path of people discussing how they just really wanted some Black, nookie, like DICK was how. Why am I acting like I can't? Like my kids are around and can't spell, but it was. I think I'd never actually experienced that before. I was so freaking floored. Like, and I just think people don't understand things like that. Like carelessly throwing around the word nigga, carelessly talking about how, and it's not like date outside the race. They're literally just talking about like, I want to just have a big Black dick. Like that conversation is somehow like when I say mind blown to where I didn't even have, it was just like such a, what the fuck just happened kind of a moment. There's a lot that happens, I would just say in this social circle that's just absolutely probably in terms of pro cheerleaders or dancers or teammates, that's like absolutely kind of like not okay. I mean, the episode that we did about like diversity, I'm Every Woman, was really just about representation. Like what we experience as a community in terms of how we interact around race is a whole other topic. Yeah, it's a whole other conversation. But again, if you
people are asking if you do an episode on this.
Oh, we can absolutely. Because it's something that we don't talk about, right? Like nobody talks about, there probably isn't a forum to talk about like how you feel as a minority on your team. Like we touched on it with I'm Every Woman, but it wasn't like the focus of the episode. But it's all these like microaggressions, as people call things, where it's those types of things that I think are probably surfacing now, especially when you don't feel supported by your teammates. I mean, I can see where a lot of that, is coming from these strong statements that people are making. And I we can talk about it. I mean, hell, that's why not? I mean, that could definitely be, an episode.
Conversation. And
Yeah.
honestly, it's just about having conversations. I feel like people are so afraid to talk about the tough things. You know what I mean? And it's like that's what you need to talk about. And
No.
even for those still asking, like I know one of my favorite dance moms chimed in. She said, when people ask what they can do, tell them to have these conversations with their kids, cousins, nieces, and nephews, educate the future tomorrow. This is why I love her. This is why I love her kids. And I will always, you know what I mean, go above and beyond her because of that statement right there. It really isn't hard. Like, but you have to be willing to fight for it and stand up and make people uncomfortable. And I think that's what it is everybody wants to like tiptoe around everything and make sure everybody's happy. When it's like, no, we're gonna have that conversation.
Absolutely.
One of my friends is dating a cop, and he's a cop, and we were having game night. And he was on FaceTime with one of his friends. And he's not black, but one of his friends FaceTimed him. He was like, "What's up, my nigga?" And like 15, and I looked at her, and I looked at him, and I was like, "Oh shit, I have to say something." I was like, I don't want to pick this up because I don't want to make this game. I don't want to ruin the moment.
Yep.
Shoot, I have to. And then you just keep going, just going. I'm like, oh no, I have to. Like, I have to. And you can't be afraid to speak up. You know what I mean? I think that's what it comes down to. Like,
well, let's talk.
You have to leave.
Leaving or no, go ahead. Like, it's finding that way in that moment to speak.
And if people don't understand or have the comment, I mean, just speaking about that, where you don't have the common decency to not say it around me, then you're a fucked up human. And why are you and then I'm supposed to expect you to protect and serve us?
How does that work?
Wait, hold on. Wait. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like again, that human to human respect thing where like they're, you don't even have the respect to not have the conversation like that around. Like somehow people either have gotten super confused of what is like okay or not, or they just don't give a shit. One of the two. But it's like, it's fun in that voice to say something because unchecked, this shit will just keep on and keep on and keep on. And I think that's kind of, again, why we are where we are. It's like, and I really do, I mean, I'm retired, so it's different in terms of my voice and speaking up or using this platform to speak up, right? But I do kind of want to touch on, I think it's Whitney, she said some people are scared to speak out because they fear what the consequences for them could be. And
what's the consequence of me? If my organization doesn't want me back because I spoke out, then I don't want to be part of this organization. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
Like, you thought I cared about that post that I just posted the other day with my black, absolutely not. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you're not supporting me, then I wouldn't want to
support
anyway. So.
And that's the empowerment part that I just really, I know, what happens in an hour? We get like kicked off or something. If you come back. Like I just noticed what time it was, but I just want us as a community to like feel exactly that. Like I'm important. My thoughts, my feelings, my self-respect, my dignity, like all of that is so important that even though we look at our dance career we work so hard, we build this up, and you don't want to burn bridges, eliminate opportunities. Like I get that, but like, it's just like there's so much personal power in using that voice and making that decision for yourself that if this organization can't stand by you and support you on something that's just right or wrong, like you said, it's not like, oh, you broke a rule. It's just like, what was I saying? Like it means something to me. I'm speaking up for what's right. I wouldn't want to be associated with an organization like that either. And I mean, and it's like, it's bold, it's daring, and maybe it's just something that people aren't willing to take on based on where they're at in their career in dance. But it's either like that one individual speaking out, or to what people are speaking to, if their teammates supported them in that, whatever that issue may have been, it's not just one voice, it becomes 16, it becomes 20, all speaking up to say that that is not right, to not support so and so because they posted about this situation. Like, what are they really gonna? We're not talking about getting bent over and spanked or whatever. And I don't even want to like buy into this mindset that they have that much control and power over your career. I don't want to act like it's not possible to be blackballed, but it's like, if we keep living our lives around that fear, it's just like absolutely nothing's going to change at that point. Let it.
We're agreeing with this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like stuck way the hell up. Okay, oopsies.
Yes,
See? Well, I know it. Well, I'll just wait for some like sign that's going to cut off on us, and then I don't know what happens to the comments. So I'm just help me read them, and then we can address whatever when we come right back.
Savannah HD said, "Thank you both for opening up about this. I appreciate you two so much. I love you."
Yeah.
And Raven said, "Yep." I feel like obligated to post versus genuinely posting, that is a big. Devin said, "I have to go, but thank you for speaking up. We're going to do my part in our little cheer community and out." Yes, she's gone now probably. But
okay, but yay.
Then Danielle's going to do an episode about this. And yeah, I think that's, there you go.
Yeah.
Don't feel that way. But
yeah. Well, hell. Well, at least, how do you speak up in the fear of losing everything you work so hard to get? It's so hard, but it has to be done. Well, maybe, before we get kicked out of Instagram land, let's just maybe, I'm like dragging you into this, Quentin, other people could join too, but like, let's just come right back and maybe just kind of bringing it home to like our world, understanding that there's some obviously complications, right? You live in a market that's got one team, or, fill in the blank. Like, how do you maybe have those conversations with yourself or with your teammates to understand that this is a type of organization that you really want to be a part of? That's
like, I feel like your organization needs to be you as a person, not a prop, not a
placeable object.
Yes, I'm not a pawn.
Mm-hmm.
So and even speaking outside the cheer world, kind of my friend that asked that, he's not in the cheer world yet. I say yet.
Yet? Okay, let's put it out there. It's coming.
And like, that's a big, like, it's like you said, it takes one person speaking up, all of a sudden 2 people join in, 3 people, and all of a sudden you have 16, 20, 35 people banding together. That's how things change.
Yeah.
And, if I have to be that person, I'm going to be that person in hopes that people rally behind me. But if not, then I'm going to fight this by myself.
Yeah. And hell, I mean, and I think the one hope that I have, at least for this platform, I mean, I know I went apeshit with stuff going on in the NBA, but it's just like, while I have this platform, if there's some stuff that goes down that's just not right, I mean, I know how to write not a hate letter. I won't call my NBA open letter a hate letter, but I know how to get active. I want people to feel like there is some support for what you might be experiencing. And if things aren't right and you take that stand and you feel afraid to take it alone, I mean, not like I can do something, but you might have more support than you realize. Yeah. Well, yes, I'm so happy. This is like my first time even being able to talk to you one-on-one, but I really appreciate it, like seriously. And I welcome, any other topic. Ooh, this is where they give you the warning, 27 seconds remaining. Okay, thanks Instagram for not just, I've been scared it's just gonna be like, but I'm so technologically challenged. But let's just see what we can do with the conversation being started. I'm definitely down for an episode that's geared towards this. We don't have to continue into a new IG Live. I just want to thank you, Quentin, for joining me and just like speaking to it just so real. Oh ho ho.